1974's Jaws of the Dragon, also known as Agmyeong, is a martial arts movie that, well, it's basically Death Wish but much, much less developed and with much more emphasis on poorly developed fight sequences. This one's going to be short, not just because this is a fairly clean kill for me, but because honestly, not a lot happens here. I sat on this tape for at least 2 years after finding it in a haul with its original box missing and the title sounded cool, so I saved it for a special occasion, and well, to say I was underwhelmed would be a bit of an understatement. For the sake of clarity, I'm reviewing the UK version of this film, and if you've been following this channel for long enough, you'll know that the words martial arts movies and UK can only mean one thing. Yep, this is another BBFC hatchet job. How much did they cut on this thing? Well, the Wutang collection version of this clocks in at approximately 1 hour and 35 minutes. The UK cut is 1 hour and 10 or so. They cut 25 minutes out of this movie. And the most surprising thing of all is that they didn't really cut any plot out, and it's still super vague and underwhelming. I mean, at first I thought maybe the BBFC had got a bit snip-happy and recommended cuts to the fight scenes and the plot, but no, not really. It's just the fight scenes that are affected here, and with the blunt force of an axe, they've rendered this film barely functional, particularly in the third act. So I'm going to try my best to get through the plot here, mainly because even without the cuts, this film's story is kind of incomprehensible. So, Jaws of the Dragon is the story of Junior, a man, but a man with a shadowy past. In the opening of the film, Junior ends up seriously injured by a gang called the White Tigers to the point that he's hospitalised. It's there that a school friend, Elaine, finds out that Junior's in the hospital and goes to see him, and the pair quickly reconnect. Late that night, however, the White Tigers stage a surprise raid on the hospital and kidnap the injured Junior. They take him out of the hospital and load him into the back of a transit van, and while en route, Junior wakes up, kicks all of the White Tigers' arses, and then proceeds to knock out the driver before disappearing. The next day, Elaine goes to visit Junior at the hospital only to find he's not there. But one of Junior's friends pulls up outside and asks her to hop in the car, and while on the road, it's revealed that Junior's gone into hiding at a friend's villa. When Elaine meets Junior at the villa, they both declare their love for each other, and yeah, they've known each other collectively for about 20 minutes in this film, and they're already on petting terms. It takes all sorts to make a world, I guess. Anyway, the White Tigers are pissed that Junior's abduction didn't go to plan, as he allegedly was the only person who knew the secret location to a suitcase full of money. The plan being that they recover the large sum and then pack up and ship over to either Hong Kong or Japan. The two locations are used interchangeably throughout the film, and it's never really exactly clear where they actually want to go. So they kidnap one of Junior's friends and torture him until he reveals the location of the hiding place where Junior stashed the money. The area, however, is quite heavily guarded, so the White Tigers decide to attack it with dynamite for some reason. This leads to an elongated fight sequence where Junior comes out of hiding to try and get rid of the White Tigers from the scene. And I'm not kidding, this set of fight sequences and a car chase goes on for bloody ages. It must be at least 15 to 20 minutes long, and basically culminates with a few of Junior's friends being killed and the White Tigers being driven away from the scene. Later on, the White Tigers regroup and kidnap Elaine, forcing Junior out of hiding to get her back. In agreement for releasing Elaine, Junior agrees to show the group where the money is stored. And I need to say at this point, it's only about 20 to 30 minutes into this 70-ish minute film that we find out it's even money that the gang are after. Nothing is mentioned about Junior knowing the whereabouts of a suitcase full of cash, nor is the cash itself even vaguely alluded to up until this point. So that 20-ish minute fight sequence and car chase we just sat through made no sense to me on the first watch until we got to this point where it was finally all clicked together. Sort of. Anyway, Junior shows the gang where the money is, but it turns out to be a double cross. Junior's tied up and beaten, Elaine is recaptured and raped while Junior watches. At least, I think that's what happens. They decided to shoot these segments in abstract red filter vision. And then just before Junior's about to be finished off, one of Junior's friends swoops in, takes out the gang and frees him. The film then basically changes gear slightly, becoming a rape-revenge film in which Junior and his friends help take down the gang members who hurt Elaine, while also looking to take down the White Tiger gang once and for all, while also trying to get his money back. In a closing 20 minutes that's 15 more minutes worth of fight scenes and 5 minutes worth of pseudo-deep philosophical bollocks and mild plot exposition, yeesh, this film was rubbish. For starters, the script is rushed, it has no sense of pacing or structure, and like I've said a couple of times in this review already, the 25 minutes that's been cut from this is largely fight scenes involving weaponry. The actual plot is still more or less left intact, and I still didn't have a bloody clue what was going on for sure. The pacing was all over the place. This is a 70-ish minute movie that contains 50 minutes worth of fighting, no dialogue during the fight scenes either. It's not like we learn anything during those elongated pummelings. It's just a long, drawn-out scene of people jumping around pretending to hit each other, sometimes presented in slow motion. Of what plot is left for the remaining 20 minutes, it's almost insultingly simplistic. It offers nothing in the way of actual meaningful plot and is over really before it ever even began. This film could literally be boiled down to, man has his money stolen and girlfriend attacked by a gang, he goes and fights the gang, the end. And while quite a few films have been built around that premise, Death Wish is a prime example of how to do that kind of story right, here, it's just not enough to keep the film on track. There's just nothing here. It's a total nothing film. The movie has a title card but no credits, either at the beginning or the end, so information about exactly who was involved in this one is rather scarce. From what I can find online, it appears that the director for this was James Nam. He has 7 directing credits, his last in 2002, and it appears he mainly shot Brucesploitation and martial arts movies. I mean, this isn't a massive leap, you know, Brucesploitation, Bronsonsploitation, it's all kind of the same wheelhouse. There's also no writer listed for this movie, which only further makes me think that this film was cooked up by Nam on the fly after having seen Death Wish either in production or in theatres and wanting a piece of that pie. The direction visually here isn't too bad, it actually looks more like a Western-produced film than your typical Eastern martial arts production. What is a problem, however, is the editing. Taking the BBFC cuts out of the equation, this film feels like someone used a power saw to cut it. Music cues just stop, they don't fade down or crossfade. They cut when the footage cuts, and that's the theme that runs through the whole film. Almost every single sequence feels like it was assembled via the machine they used to pick the lottery numbers. Sometimes scenes stop mid-sentence, sometimes scenes stop before they even really get started, and on at least 3 occasions I spotted, it appears that random footage has been spliced into the film for a few frames. Of note, I spotted an orchestra at one point randomly in the middle of a dialogue sequence. It's a mess, and the BBFC edits just make it even worse. Which is a shame after it showed such a level of visual competency in its direction that bad editing distinctly undercuts any kind of enjoyment of the visuals. The cine is much the same. Sequences tend to have a diverse range of shot types that felt a bit more in the vein of your typical martial arts movie, but none of that really matters when the sequence is assembled like you just let your 5-year-old attempt to work a glue gun on a model kit. It looks rickety for the majority of the runtime, and it's really properly disappointing to see here. The performances are passable. This is one of the few films I've seen where the vocal overdub is actually not too bad. It doesn't sound like a load of pissed up actors doing their best carry-on impersonations. It sounds like they wanted to try and actually be half decent. Which, credit to them, they don't sound too bad at all. There are no real standout performances in this. Everyone literally gives just about what's asked of them, and that's it. No more, no less. So I mean, good? I think... if there were actual scenes of people talking to each other for longer than 5 minutes in this movie, I may have had stronger feelings about the casting. But because there's so little plot, I didn't really get a feeling for any of them. They're all just kind of okay. Which again, is kind of underwhelming. Finally, if the movie's 50 minutes of fighting, surely the fighting must be good. Well, no, not really. The choreography of these fight scenes is pretty dreadful, and not in any way enjoyable even in a silly way. It's just painfully overlong and poorly produced. The actors have draw distances on punches and kicks that are way too far away. You can see the air between the punch and the actor more often than not. The director has almost no idea how to frame the shots because the lack of contact is visible almost all the time. And to top it all off, these scenes are equally hobbled by poor editing, which makes the fights appear super chaotic without any sense of rhythm and flow. It's just a mess. And they go on and on for ages as well, leading to me shouting at the screen for the film to get on with it on at least more than one occasion. Worse still, the fight scenes involving weaponry are arguably some of the better scenes in the film, and that really isn't saying very much, believe me, and they've all been cut out of the UK release. So the one good thing I could have said about this film, kind of, I can't now. Whoopee! The release history for Jaws of the Dragon is kind of a difficult one. I can find unsubstantiated claims that the film was released by Videon as a pre-cert in 1977, but the version I have is certificate rated and cut, so this particular release at least had to have come out sometime after 1984. As I don't own the box for this one, I can't reference it either, so all I can tell you honestly is that from the looks of things, the film probably came out around 1986 or 1987, it was distributed by Turbo Phase Video, and it never had a retail release. It was ex-rental only. Other than the cuts, this film has another interesting fact about its release. For some reason, and I can only assume it was Turbo Phase's doing, most of the movie has been rescored from its original soundtrack, with about 90% of the original music being swapped out for DeWolf library tracks and, bizarrely, extracts from the James Bond and Shaft themes. Equally, they've buggered the transfer up as the entire film has this weird, warped diagonal framing to it that makes the image slant quite noticeably for most of the runtime, which probably tells you as much as you need to know about how much care Turbo Phase put into this distribution. Hell, they literally only included enough tape on this one to cover the movie and that's it. As in, when the film ends, it immediately cuts to black and then the tape shuts off. There's no lead out and almost no lead in. And this film's literally only about 70 minutes long. So they were clearly penny pinching as much as they could with this one. Beyond VHS, the film would eventually get a DVD release in 2007, courtesy of East West, who released it as part of a double feature disc set. Finally, in 2016, the film was acquired by the Wutang Clan's label, the Wutang Collection, where it was made available to stream for free on YouTube, fully uncut as of the 17th of July 2017. And what still stuns me about all of this is that this film's had more releases than most good martial arts movies. Jaws of the Dragon is a lazy, uninspired mess of a movie that's arguably one of the most boring and heel-dragging martial arts movies that I've ever covered on this channel. Even uncut, it's still dull and in desperate need of some TLC and an edit suite. Because there is some good stuff in this film, it's just been absolutely buried through sheer incompetency and poor decisions. This is not a fun movie. Hell, this is barely a movie. It's only 2 clicks off being a series of fight scenes hung together with a title card. Don't bother with this one. It's a massive waste of time, and given how broad the martial art genre is, you literally can do better.